Let's do it. It's draft night. Hey, everybody. Jake Madison here, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. First and foremost, can you all hear me? Let me know in the chat there. As we gear up for what should be a pretty eventful night with the first pick, probably in about 15 minutes or so from now. Quickly, before we really get started in everything, I'm going to have to hop off at one point to go do a Locked On live hit. I'll get an alert. I'm going to keep the stream going. We'll be right back after that. Okay, thank you, Brian. I'll be right back after that. You're going to get this screen. When I go away, I'm going to have to kill the camera to go use it somewhere else, but I will be back with you all. We'll probably roll here till we run out of steam, till things get a little bit crazy. Normally, we would do something like this at a bar. Can't exactly do that tonight, so we're going to do it virtually. We did this for the lottery. It was pretty fun. I've done a couple of these other hangouts with everything too. What up, Sam? I see you in there. And this should be a lot of fun. This is not easy for me to talk for like an hour straight as much as you might think it is, because I host, like hours worth of programming every week on Locked On Pels. So ask me your questions, talk amongst yourselves there in the chat. Let's have a little bit of fun with this. It's pretty relaxed. And yeah, we're just going to have kind of a good time. Some notes on, things going on here. This should be an eventful draft. I don't think I've seen a draft this kind of wild since 2013, 2012 with Anthony Bennett going number one overall to the Cavs. That, of course, was the Drew Holiday trade to New Orleans for the 6th pick, and then I think the 14th or 11th pick the next year after that. That was a draft that looked like it might go one way. Then Anthony Bennett kind of went number one overall, and it threw this all wide open. And you might see that a little bit here. What's up, Richard? I see you in there too. So this is, I think, one of those things where you've got the 3 picks, Wiseman, LaMelo Ball, and Anthony Edwards, that are all kind of at the top of this draft. And then after that, we don't know. What's going to happen with the 4th pick might change the complexion of the draft. The 6th pick might kind of be a breaking point of everything. And so we're going to see how this all goes. It's kind of fun that it's unpredictable. It's always a little bit more fun when you don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be some drama in this. That drama will be completely wrecked by Woj, probably letting you know what the picks are going to be. You know what? Spoil them in the chat if you see them. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it here. I've got multiple screens set up. So we're just going to kind of have some fun with it. I did see the Klay Thompson news. I saw one report just now on Twitter that he tore an ACL and might be out for a while. That really sucks if that's the case. I never want to root for injuries. It might change what Golden State does, but Steph Curry and Draymond Green can probably take you pretty far, to be perfectly honest, I think. So they still can I think they've always wanted to trade away the 2nd overall pick in this draft. I don't think they really want to take a player there. Anyone you're going to take there isn't going to help you right away, and that's kind of what they need. They're in a win-now mode. So with the 2nd overall pick, I think they're still looking to trade it. The problem is this is a weaker draft overall. I think there are some fairly high floor guys, but I don't know if there's a ton of really high ceiling guys in this draft. Because of that, you should not really try and trade up in this draft. If you want to trade up using assets in this draft, that is one thing. You package the 24th pick and the 13th overall pick and move that to get up a couple of spots. I think that is, Achilles, not ACL. I think that's a reasonable move. But if you trade a future first to move up in this draft, that is a horrible idea. The future first round picks, in whatever they might be, whether they're Bucks picks, whether they're Lakers picks, whether it's a Pelicans pick, moving up in this draft with a future asset, I do not like. 24, 13 to move up to maybe 10, 9, 8. I don't think they're going to get as high as 7. I think is a fine move. Using some of the 2nd round picks they have, 39, 42, not 60 anymore because that went away in the Drew Holiday trade. I think all of that's fine, though I actually think 2nd round picks are kind of valuable in a draft like this with so many teams not having cap space. So with so many teams not having cap space, cost-controlled 2nd round picks on minimum deals is actually pretty important. Those 2nd round picks might have more value than they normally would otherwise. Joshy 5000, yep, woke up the other night. I went to bed early, Monday night. I'm like, you know what? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are going to kind of be hectic days. Got the draft coverage, the lead up, and then kind of, the denouement, if you will, as an English major here, of the draft, breaking down everything that goes on in just an hour here or so. And it's a lot of coverage during this time. So I'm going to get early, go to bed early, get some rest. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the dark room of the bedroom. I got my phone charging on the nightstand. And all of a sudden, it's kind of making, not noise because it's on silent, but it starts glowing in the dark. I look over, I'm like, who the hell's texting me? Whatever, it doesn't matter. And then it won't stop glowing. It goes dark for a second, bounces back up, starts glowing again. I look over, I have a bunch of text messages. I see the alerts from Woj. The only Twitter alerts I get are from Woj and from Shams. And it's Drew Holiday has been traded. And it's like, oh, okay. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll just wake up a little bit earlier than I normally would have, record a podcast. Then you start thinking about it. And yeah, I wasn't going to go back to bed. So got up, recorded that emergency show for you all. No need to thank me for doing it. Thank you all for listening. That's kind of why I do some of this stuff here. And it was a lot of fun. That was a good show. We really broke it down. If you haven't listened to that and want to know a little bit more about the Drew Holiday trade, go and give that thing a listen, as we really covered a lot of that. One thing I've noticed, so the show is Monday through Friday, right? That's, locked on, your team every day. That's kind of the whole premise. Not everyone listens every day, I've learned. And so a lot of people were asking me on Twitter about these questions that were answered in the show. So if you haven't listened to that, go and listen to that show so that you know everything that's going on. Jeremy, I'm assuming you're from Arabi. That is a guy who I think could slip a little bit. A Kongwu out of USC, a dude with an unbelievably high motor, I think, that could make a lot of sense for New Orleans. Doesn't have the three-point shot that you want in a big, but kind of gives you everything else. And I don't think he's going to be there at 13. So if the Pelicans want him, they're going to have to move up and get him. But I think there's some overlap with Jackson Hayes and what he does. So I don't know if they're going to really kind of do that or if he's really on their radar. If he falls at 13, they probably just go for value and take him, though. Jonathan Walker, is there any way to watch the draft besides paying for live TV? As a college student, yes, I'm sure that is expensive. It's on ESPN. I don't know if they're streaming it for free on there, but probably not. There's frankly probably illegal ways that I cannot recommend necessarily for this sort of thing. So there we go. There we go. See, people got excited and tweeted you without even reading the tweets. Yes, listen to the show. So I'm not as active on Twitter as I once was. Part of it is the podcast pays me. Twitter doesn't pay me. It's kind of like that. So I keep some of the good stuff on there. I've told a lot of behind the scenes stories during this break and this weirder time that we've had that I'm not going to put on Twitter. If you want to listen to them, you got to listen to the show and catch it that way. Yes, Reddit is probably a way to find a way to watch the draft. I'm not encouraging anything. I'm not tweeting out links, but that certainly is a way to do it. Sorry, I've got my phone over here. There we go. I've got another computer right here. I've got this set up here. I've got it on the TV here. You can probably hear it a little bit in the background. Damien, thank you then. You are the minority for listening every day, and I appreciate that. Look, I don't expect people to listen 5 days a week. That's a lot, but you know what? If you listen 1 day a week, try listening twice. That's only going to make you more informed. We'll get to have a little bit of fun on the show too. It helps make me do the show every day too. So that's an important part of it. So if you can up your listening just a little bit, I'd love it. That's great. If you don't, that's okay too. So I'm going to ask you all a question. As I said, I think we kind of know who the top 3 guys are. In some order, it's LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, and James Wiseman. What is your 3 order? If you had the number 1 overall pick, who is your top pick in this draft? And then if you had the second pick, who are you taking? And then third, who would you be taking? So rank those top 3 guys in Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, and LaMelo Ball. I do think those are the top 3. I don't know if you could really sell me on a 4th guy jumping into that top 3. But what are the top 3 guys you've got in this draft? As I'm going to take a sip of everything here. I looked it up, and I am allowed to have a drink live on YouTube, so that has making sure I'm not going to get in trouble for anything here. Huh?
Is that a thing? Is that a worry?
My girlfriend's here with me, and there you go. There's her arm. And she was wondering if that was a thing. I think this is going to be pretty split for the top 3 guys here. Richard's got Wiseman in there. We've got LaMelo, Wiseman, Edwards, Ball, Wiseman. Edwards, have we literally just hit like all of the combinations pretty much that we could have for the top 3?
Times 3, there's 9?
Yeah, it should be 9. So it's kind of, like I said, I think this is, the Edwards interviews were weird. Marshall, good to see you, Marshall, by the way. The Edwards interviews were weird. I don't worry too much about that. I do truly think that, guys are in the NBA for money.
Why were they weird?
So I should mention that. Wiseman said that, like, he doesn't watch basketball. It doesn't seem like he particularly loves the game of basketball, like just watching it, enjoying it. He's a very good player. Maybe he treats it a little bit more of as a job than some other guys do.
No Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, it's not like Brandon Ingram was one of those guys who like devours film, just lives hoop basically and lives ball. But you know what? If you're good and you pay, and he's paid enough and he's a professional, I don't really have a problem with that sort of attitude. Like, I think we're kind of in 2020 past the point of a lot of the stuff where, like, if they're not living all of this, that you kind of knock some of these guys. So, all right, so we're kind of, it looks like everyone's kind of split on who the number one overall pick would be. There's cases for all of them. LaMelo Ball might be the safest out of all of those choices. Anthony Edwards, I think, might be the actual best player out of all of them. And then James Wiseman played 3 games at Memphis, is kind of the unknown guy in all of this. And it was also, a center is not necessarily what you're looking to take number one overall in the NBA right now, let alone a center that doesn't shoot threes. He might have a bit of a stroke in the NBA, but I don't know if he's going to have a tremendous stroke in the NBA. So, yeah. There we go. So I'm sorry, you're gonna hear me go silent as I catch up on Twitter and stuff like that too as I'm talking, and I miss things. And apparently I've missed a bunch of alerts here, and I think Woj might have just broken the first. Oh no, he didn't. Okay, so it sounds like, according to Woj right now, the Timberwolves remain on the phones discussing possible trade scenarios with the number one overall pick. Rosas' plan has always been to take this down to the wire, and that's what's happening now. That's a team that's in win-now mode. You've got D'Angelo Russell. You've got Karl Anthony Towns. You probably don't want to have the number one overall pick. And, yeah, I think it's kind of interesting that they don't want... This is one of those things. You don't really want to trade up unless you're just trying to unload certain assets because you just don't want them. And I think that's a bit of a case for the Pelicans to some degree. It's definitely the case for the Golden State Warriors. It's definitely the case for the Minnesota Timberwolves, too. And I think a team like the Knicks, which are rumored to be trying to trade up, makes zero sense to me, given the lack of young assets that they have and the fact that they need to try and acquire more. They should be looking to trade down. The Pistons are looking to trade down. Hold on. Okay, it's just Adam Silver talking. Let me catch up on the chat here. Wiseman, by the way, hey Matt, says Wiseman, number one, is he's the physical freak with the highest ceiling. I probably agree with that. Just the best overall, physical talent, I think, is important. You can go a number of different directions, I think, with this first overall pick. I think LaMelo Ball probably has the most star potential for everything. But, yes, there's some concerns about him as well. All right, I'm trying to see if there's anything else going on Twitter as I try and catch up on everything here. There should be, I'm expecting a lot of trades. Are you all expecting a lot of trades in this draft tonight? Let's see what he's saying here. If Woj has no idea who's going number one overall right now, then the number one, then I don't even think the Timberwolves have an idea of what's going number one overall in this draft right now. The best was, what was it last year? Was it last year or 2 years ago where Woj was like, okay, I won't tip 4 or 5 picks ahead of time, which was pretty fun to watch, where he was legitimately 4 picks ahead of the actual draft. I don't even know how you do that, to be perfectly honest. And he did it, and then they said you can't do this. And so he just did it in very vague terms. It was the apple of the Pelicans' eye is this player, basically meaning they were going to draft that player. And
was it any surprise that we drafted Zion?
Well, that one was different. We're using that as an example. That was a very big thing. One question I have for everyone here in the chat, and again, thank you all for joining me on draft night. This is a whole lot more fun than just sitting in my living room here with my girlfriend, so not by myself, but I'm enjoying all of this with you all. Where is everyone? Are you in New Orleans? And if you're in New Orleans, where in New Orleans are you? All right, there we go. The Wolves officially are on the clock. I do love this compared to the NFL. 5 minutes to make your pick, not like an hour as it feels like.
Also, it's not our favorite commissioner.
True. I actually enjoy Adam Silver up there compared to Roger Goodell.
Go to hell.
Richard says there's going to be more trades tonight than on Wall Street tomorrow. We got someone in Houston. Okay. Have I heard of any targets the Pels might move up for? Baton Rouge. Expect that one. San Antonio. There we go. We're NOLA East. Okay. North Shore. We're all over the place. I like it. Virginia Beach. Dalton, Georgia.
Cool.
All right. From NOLA, but in Lufkin, Texas. Slidell. Chattanooga. Do we have anyone? We got to get some international in here, hopefully.
People in Uruguay probably listen.
Yes. At one point, I did have the #1 sports podcast in Uruguay. There we go. We got Brazil. Thank you for joining. Fort Worth, Uptown. Okay. Baton Rouge again. North Dakota. Okay. That was a bit unexpected. I'm just kind of laughing at this. They've had 5 months to figure this pick out, and they're like still taking it down to the wire. I'm in Houston, but New Orleans at heart. I love hearing that.
This is how I take tests, though. I might have hours, but it's going to take me to the wire.
Denham Springs. Okay. All right, we got a good group of people here tonight. They're socially distanced and wearing masks. They're in Minnesota. Like, why make them wear suits in
Yeah,
that?
I was going to say, why are they all dressed up?
Like, why make them wear suits in the draft room? Come on. Also, it was like a terrible available. That has some different meanings to it, I think. You can take the guy with the highest floor or the guy with the highest ceiling. I think that could come up at the Pelicans pick.
Does that translate, though, down the draft as the draft picks move on? Like, once you're in
Somewhat.
second round, at that point, isn't it kind of more
The second round is a little bit, but I also don't think that second round picks are all that good to begin with, so I don't think it really matters. At that point, it gets a little bit different, but in the lottery, you usually just want to get the best player. Right, get the Ball family in Chino Hills. I'm assuming that's his mom who like had a stroke and was in a hospital for a while. I don't really know the specifics of some of that stuff. All right, we've got 2 minutes left on this for me here, and we will see how this goes. I think he spends most of his time in California. I think that's where Lonzo spends most of. Sorry, I'm checking emails. Okay. Waiting to see. Woj hasn't tweeted anything, so this is legitimately coming down to the wire as much as possible. Kyle, I want to go back to something you said, Kyle Cross. I think there are going to be some diamonds in the rough in this draft that we're probably not even talking about yet. What I see this draft as being is not filled with high ceiling guys. I do think it has fairly high floor guys, and I think this will come up at the Pelicans pick with 13. There we go. Minnesota is selecting Anthony Edwards with the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft.
Go Dogs.
All right, so there we go. So we're moving on, and now we're ahead of the game by a couple of minutes here. Hold on 1 second.
Anything else?
No, that's good. Thank you, babe. Yeah, I will need it when you come back down. All right, so Timberwolves planning to draft Anthony Edwards with the #1 overall pick. So going back to what I was saying, high floor, low ceiling guys. I think that's kind of the Pelicans' spot, and they're going to have to choose between that. And there's arguments to be made for going either way. It is smart to draft the guy that could turn out to be the best player, particularly at 13, which is not the most exciting selection to have in the draft. But also, when you're looking to compete a little bit, it's not a need so much thing of, you've got to look at who's going to be the best player in 2 or 3 years. It very well might be the guy with the highest floor. So look at an argument between Sadiq Bey and Kyra Lewis Jr. I really like both of these guys. Kyra Lewis Jr. has a much higher ceiling, I think, than Sadiq Bey. But there is a much greater chance that he will flame out and not be as good of an NBA player as Sadiq Bey would be. If you're kind of betting on which one would be a better NBA player, it legitimately might be, or like it working out for them, legitimately might be Sadiq Bey out of Villanova. When we did our locked on mock draft, I took him for that reason. There's less boom or bust there, and his floor is pretty high. He is a rotation guy. I'm going to turn the air down a little bit too. And so I think that is a big important thing to kind of factor in. Like it's 70, like. Okay. Got hot in the house all of a sudden. Also might be me talking for like 30 minutes straight might happen here. All right, hold on. I'm checking the phone. Shams beat Woj on this one. Okay, they're coming out with the pick.
Glass, please.
Oh, yes, thank you. So, Marshall, that's a really good question. Are the Pelicans better off taking a bigger risk right now, given the amount of draft capital they have now? There's something to be said for that. And, I don't think you can necessarily go wrong either way with some of this stuff. And so when you look at it, part of the reason I think the Pelicans are acquiring some of these draft picks is not just to hopefully trade for a superstar in the future. And what is it right now? They've got 13 picks in the next 8 drafts, something like that. I do think it is obscene. So they have a lot of draft picks. It's not just to try and trade for someone else. Part of it is, as a small market, and I said this on Locked On Pelicans, you play by a different set of rules than other teams do. They're not playing by the same set of rules that the Lakers, the Heat, the Golden State Warriors, Boston, even the New York Knicks play by. You don't get those big name guys in free agency, and it's harder to keep your own guys in a small market. It's just kind of the facts. That's why the Milwaukee Bucks went all in on Drew Holiday and overpaid for Drew Holiday because of that. But if you have a ton of draft picks and you swing for the fences on every single one of those picks, so you would take a Kyra Lewis Jr. over Sadiq Bey, basically it's the idea of you got to throw enough mud at the wall and some of it will stick. The more mud you throw at the wall, the more it's going to stick, meaning the more picks you make on high ceiling guys, the better the chances of one of them working out is going to be. To a degree, this is what Philadelphia did with the whole trust the process idea. Acquire a ton of draft picks and make those draft picks so that you eventually land your superstar, because that is how you win in the league.
Look how good Buddy Hield turned out to be.
Something like that. So that is one of the reasons why in a small market, acquiring a ton of draft picks is actually really important. It's less important for the Lakers. It's less important for the Golden State Warriors. It's less important for other teams to do than it is New Orleans. Same thing for OKC. I don't think they're looking to use those picks to really trade for a star. I think they might be looking to use those picks to draft superstars that they at least have cost controlled for 7 years. And that, I think, is some of it. Hold on. I'm going to hit the pause button for just a minute here. I've got a phone call I got to take. I'm staying on. We're coming right back in like 30 seconds. No, I'm good. All right, we're all good now. All right, so that I think is some of the draft strategy and play that goes on for New Orleans in this. Same for the the Oklahoma City Thunder, that you've just got to try and throw enough mud at the wall and hope it sticks. It's an unfortunate reality of being a small market in the NBA. So, all right. So it sounds like the Golden State Warriors are selecting James Wiseman with the 2nd overall pick. The race between Woj and Shams is now 1-1 on tipping the draft picks before they happen. If ball falls to the Hornets, do you think LeVar and MJ play one-on-one? Not a chance, but I do think the Charlotte Hornets wanted to take LaMelo Ball at 3. I think they want the guy who's maybe the biggest name of the group and the most star power. I don't think it's taken them very long for Charlotte to say that they are selecting LaMelo Ball with this. I think that kind of makes the most sense for them when it comes to this sort of thing. All right, I got to put my phone like not on silent. Nope, as we get another thing. One of my buddies, Jeremy, who I don't think is in here, jerk, says he's excited for the 30 different verbs and adjectives that Woj is going to break out. I don't think Woj cares anymore about trying to not tip picks. He knows what he's doing, and last year when Shams started beating him to it, he just said, screw it, I'm not going to use my euphemisms for that sort of thing, and he had some fun. Yeah, he did. Charlotte is focused on LaMelo Ball with the 3rd pick, sources say. That is no surprise there. They are turning that in so quickly because that is exactly who they want and who they need in this draft. So this is going exactly how we thought it would go. And Brian R., you are right. Get ready for it to be a little bit crazy once we get to the 4th pick, because this could go a number of different directions. Chicago's up right now. You could take Denny out of Israel, and it makes sense for them. They could reach and go with Killian Hayes if they really fell in love with Killian Hayes. They're not offering Chris Dunn a tender, so he'll be a restricted free agent, likely not going back there. They need another guard. That makes, I think, a good bit of sense, too. This is going to be kind of interesting to see the direction that they go right now. The 4th pick is where it really opens up. Yes, the Bulls and the Cavs need just about, everything, other than maybe a big man for either of those teams, but almost anything else. You have a couple of really good wing prospects here. I'm not as high on Obi Toppin as some others are. I don't know if they'll go that way, but I do like Isaac Okoro out of Auburn. Patrick Williams from Florida State has been flying up draft boards as maybe one of the guys with the highest ceiling here in the league or in the draft. So we're going to see where this team, where this goes. This might tell us a good bit about the rest of this draft, to be perfectly honest. This is where things start to get interesting and where things start to get a little bit unknown. And if a guy slips a little bit, is that where guys are hyper-focused on one person to get the guy they want, try and trade up? I don't think it's a smart move in this draft, depending on what you're giving up. But this is where I think that it is going to start to get a little wild.
Did you see Anthony Edwards' Twitter handle?
No.
It's the Ant-Man 05.
That's pretty good. I like that.
I know,
The
I love
Ant-Man.
that. I love that.
Hold on 1 second here as I'm tweeting things out. Pineville, LA. All right, Fletch Lewis. I love it. Jordan could still screw this up, Richard, but this one's pretty much, I think, a no-brainer. And also maybe he just hates LeVar Ball enough that he would just say, yeah, he's going to take it personally if LeVar Ball kind of does anything. So we'll see how it really goes here.
Who you hanging out with?
They're talking about trades potentially here for
Looks like
the Bulls. Yeah, Jay Williams does look a little bit like, anytime you have a turtleneck and like a blazer, I think basically makes you look like a Bond villain, right? Like those are kind of the rules. They're talking about the Klay Thompson injury. Has it been like officially reported anywhere by like anyone that it's like, oh, I 100% believe that?
Who said it was the Achilles injury?
I don't know. I'm just kind of following along here. Remember when LeVar convinced the league Lonzo was the number 2 overall pick? He probably still was in that draft. Like, he does a number of things well. There is going to be an interesting restricted free agency period for him because I don't think he'll accept an extension from New Orleans right now. But this is where someone close told ESPN not good. Thank you. That is certainly not going to be a good thing, and that really sucks. Like, you never want to root for injuries, let alone a player as fun, and like multiple injuries like that to Klay Thompson really, really sucks.
And it's the other leg.
Was it the other leg?
Yeah.
Oh, that really sucks. I don't know. Is that better or worse?
It doesn't help you that you have now 2 legs that are prone to injury as opposed to 1.
I like how they're announcing the 2nd pick right now, and we're kind of already on to the 4th pick.
Catch up, Adam. Oh, he's in Nashville. How cute.
Yeah.
I like all the hats.
Is that Hardaway with him? Yeah, on the left, I think.
That's really cool. Oh, yeah, he said he was training with him off season.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever you call the quarantine period.
Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, number 2. Fair enough. I mean, okay, so no, not Malik Monk. Yeah, it was Penny. But look, I think when you look at that draft and some of the things Lonzo did well going into that, it made sense.
Nice.
Like, he had a pretty damn good year at UCLA. I don't really hate that pick during that time. But if they're taking LaMelo Ball at 3, does that rule the Charlotte Hornets out for Russell Westbrook? We've got that whole debacle of everything that is the Houston Rockets here.
And just Houston in general, really.
Okay, no one thought Bam was going to be quite what Bam turned into. I think, again, you've got to remember these things at the time. It's easy to, in hindsight, to look back and be like, what the hell, you didn't take those guys. But sometimes you don't expect them to blossom quite into some of the guys. That's why some of this is a crapshoot. And again, Tyler Hero was 13th too. So was Donovan Mitchell, by the way. I have the list of 13th overall picks that I will read off to you all in a little bit. Yeah, last year. It's not bad. I will be perfectly honest. If you look at the history of the 13th pick, like in the 2010s, it's actually very, very good overall. But again, part of it is the draft is a crapshoot. Like, it's not easy to draft and kind of make these decisions, and it's easy in hindsight to go and look back. And this year, it's super harder because none of these guys have played like serious basketball since March, like 8 months. We didn't see him in the tournament to kind of know who kind of rises to the top. This is a rough draft here for everything. Yeah. The Rockets implosion is insane. It's a Jerry Springer show in Houston now. I saw they were even doing some trades today. I'm not caught up on all of it. Ownership, competitive advantage, and is not good whatsoever for the Houston Rockets. Chad Ford and Hollinger's 2019 redraft brings great perspective. Yeah, exactly. By the way, with Chad Ford, who like literally is as good as it gets when it comes to draft analysis, and like the first guy to really dive into that, exclusively part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm going to be on with him in like an hour or so, by the way, which is going to be kind of cool. Oh, okay. Woj, I just got an alert. I literally only have tweets from Woj and Shams as alerts on my phone. And I see Woj tweet out, and I don't see what it's in response to of, it just says, stop it. And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? In regards to Zach Lowe, who said, bring me the laser. Because the best comment from last year was when Woj said, whatever team has a laser on whatever player it was, and we all died laughing.
What was it, Shams the other day that said the Orlando and then scared the hell out of everybody?
Yeah, these guys got to be careful with how they tweet. Yeah, Ford's awesome. I rarely get starstruck on things, and I'm going to get to be on there talking with him. So I'll tell you all to switch over to that when we pause this again, probably in about an hour or so, a little less than that. And I'm really excited to talk to Chad Ford and be on something with him. That is really cool to me.
You gonna nerd out?
I'm not going to nerd out. I'm going to just try and like not screw up as much as possible and that sort of thing.
Grace Red.
Leonard was like 17 or something. Yeah, like sometimes it's a bit of a crapshoot. That's why I do believe that throw enough mud at the wall and hope that some of it sticks is a legitimate thing. Yes, Stan Van Gundy will have some input on the pick. David Griffin runs a pretty family-oriented way of kind of doing this. They talk ideas out, different things like that. A lot of open conversation around a lot of it. But it's not his decision, and I don't know how much weight they're going to put into some of his thoughts on this sort of thing.
Isn't Griffin trying to create like his own culture, though?
Yeah, and he is.
Yeah.
Kelly B says, can I bring Locked On to YouTube? Would be nice to see some highlights and such during the pods. That's a lot of work to do some of that stuff. Maybe I can try and do some of that, but like I don't know if I legitimately have the time and the ability. I can do it. It would just take a lot of time. And
keep pushing this. You're right.
Britt, come on now. We'll see. Maybe at some point we'll try and do something. That's why I try and do things like this so we can get some video, make it a little bit more interactive too. But I do have designs on maybe doing some smaller videos like that to illustrate some of the points that I talk about, because video is really helpful when describing plays, actions, certain skill sets like that. So it's something I've thought about. It's just, it takes a lot to do all of that. And I don't know if I actually have the time to do it. David Locke, pay the man. No, look, I value my time a lot. If something is not worth my time, I will not do it. Locked On Pelicans and Locked On NBA is definitely worth my time. So, and I enjoy doing it too, but if it wasn't worth it, I wouldn't be doing it. I'll just kind of leave it at that. I've worked enough doing this sports stuff for free for a number of years. I'm 34. I'm not going back to that anymore. I'll be 35 in March. Like, no, my time is like very valuable. I'm like an old washed up man who wants to like chill. So you've got to make it worth my time. Locked On does, and I really like it. Our network's really cool. Like the leverage we have on certain things, being able to talk to people and get ideas, and the way all the hosts come together. It's a really cool thing, and it's been expanding. I've been here since the beginning, and it's it's a source of pride for me to have been there since the beginning, pretty much since the beginning, not originally, but to help the network grow to the heights that it has. And we're doing really well. So it's pretty great. LeVar didn't look terribly pleased when Charlotte made that pick.
Does he ever look pleased?
I don't know if LeVar Ball ever looks pleased. That is a very good question. Bull, here you go. There you go. We got the surprise with everything. Bulls are targeting Patrick Williams with the 4th overall pick, and you wanted that kind of surprise of where 4 breaks this draft wide open?
Got it.
There you go. It's not a huge surprise to me that he has vaulted up draft boards to this degree. It's a minor surprise, not the biggest surprise, because his ceiling and what Patrick Williams does is kind of insane. He's going to have a good 3-point shot in the NBA. He's going to be barely over 19 by the time the season starts. He's a 6'8" wing with a good wingspan that does a number of things well. He's got a good shot. He doesn't foul. He's really good defensively. He's going to be a really useful player and a guy that I think can really make an impact almost to some degree right away. He's going to be a little raw, but if the Bulls don't rush him, they're going to be... I think it's a pretty good pick. Like, you could easily see that he was going to go in the top 8 in this draft after you kind of started to see some of the intangibles about him. The numbers in college, 9 points per game for Patrick Williams, 4 rebounds. It doesn't look great, but he has all the tools to be a really good NBA player, and this is one of those picks. You pick based on upside, and of all the guys left, Patrick Williams probably has the largest amount of upside with him. In an interview, Stan Van Gundy said he wanted no part in scouting or player acquisition after questions about his GM duties in Detroit. Just wants to coach. It's partially why they brought him in. I don't think they brought him in to kind of really... They're going to talk to him about that stuff, certainly, but he is not going to be like the guy making the pick, and I don't know how much he's really looking to have an input on that sort of thing. Seeing the Timberwolves are in talks to trade the 17th pick to OKC for Ricky Rubio and picks 25 and 28. Interesting. Sam Presti is addicted to first-round picks.
Didn't they just trade Ricky Rubio?
Yeah, he will be traded. Yeah, from the Suns. All right, I need to catch my breath after talking for so long here. Let's see here. Chad Ford apparently had Patrick Williams to the Bulls at 4. Killian Hayes will make me really happy, man. This is where it gets interesting. Does a team really like Killian Hayes or Tyrese Halliburton and look to try and move up and select them? I could see the Boston Celtics trying to package the 3 first-round picks they have to move up. Maybe it's to Cleveland. But I think this is where you're going to start to see teams get maybe a little bit aggressive. This was the turning point in the draft. We'd said that. The first 3 were set. Now it comes down to what happens next. And that kind of sets the tone for all this. We don't know how it's going to go. I'm very excited. I don't know. This is just kind of fun, right?
Nice house. Nice.
Somewhere. He's probably, I don't know where he is.
Nice place.
Is he of the turtleneck look? Yeah, he kind of has a turtleneck look too.
It's a good suit. Very cool. Oh, his mom is adorable. So is his daddy.
Let's see.
Oh, that's such a cute little family.
Williams had 50 turnovers and 29 assists. Again, all of the tools are going to be there. His handle's really compact, which I think really helps him with things. I think he's going to be pretty good. I don't think he needs to have assists for what he's looking to, what you're going to look to have him do. This is a big who is going to, how about a move up for Okongwu out of USC? Look, I like Okongwu. I just don't know if he, I don't think you move up to 5 for him. They had that toe injury, which I don't know how much teams are really worried about that, but I don't know. It's going to be, this is where we really don't know how things are going to go, and this is where it's like, oh, this is really fun. NFL draft is boring between picks. NBA draft is nonstop. Denzel Horton, what's up? Hey, from Baton Rouge. Denny does give me a lot of interest, Sam. I think he is a 5-tool small forward that can give you some playmaking and be a secondary ball handler. He's going to give you enough shooting, I think. And I think he makes a lot of sense. But I don't think the Pelicans at 13 and 24 can really move into anything before 7 or 8. And it doesn't sound like the Knicks actually want to move down. They want to move up. So I don't know if you're going to see the Pelicans really be able to get up and get some of these guys. But again, it might depend. Some of those second-round picks, I think, are going to be more valuable this year than they would in other years. And if you don't want to have that many rookies on your team, maybe moving some of those second-round picks. So 39, 24, and 13, can that vault you to 8 to 9?
Yeah.
I don't quite know, but we'll see.
Anything is possible.
Who works at the 5 with Zion? That's been my biggest concern. That's a big concern for the Pelicans too. You need a court spacing big. Like, that is a very important thing for them. I think you can run it back with Derek Favors for another year, but after that, probably move on. I do think Hayes can fit with him, but there is some concern about that still too. So all of this is still kind of open right now, and it gives the Pelicans reason to go in a number of different directions, and so I think that's an important thing to keep in mind with it all. So we're going to see who goes here. This is the Cavs. Apparently they've been high on Obi Toppin too. I don't know. Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns would very, very much work. I don't know if you're going to be able to get Karl Anthony Towns, but I would do everything to try and get Karl Anthony Towns and put him on this team. I don't think many people want Derek Favors back, but he gives you enough. He wouldn't be too expensive, and you're not going to sign him to a long-term deal in a kind of a weird NBA year. I think there is some value to bringing him back.
Do we have enough to give up to get Karl Anthony Towns?
Maybe. I just don't think they're in the mood to trade him right now. Like, the Pelicans have enough draft assets and stuff to get anyone they legitimately want at a certain point. But it also has to be that that team wants to trade him. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what you offer. Yeah, okay, we got one person who likes Favors in here.
Is the Italian guy that I like coming back?
Nico Melli?
Yeah.
He's under contract. Cleveland is selecting Isaac Okoro with the 5th pick. There we go. That's not a big surprise there. Any of those wings at that spot, he's a tough-nosed defensive wing. I think he's going to be pretty good in the NBA. So right now you're looking at 6 in Atlanta, who maybe does want to move back. I just don't know if the Pelicans have enough ammo to really move up and try and get that pick.
I'm not going to say it. Out loud.
All right. So the 5th pick is coming in. Pokusevski, if he's there at 24, yeah, take him. No problem with that decision. Yeah, Okoro definitely reminds you a lot of Bruce Bowen, I think. But there's a limited upside to a player like that. But I think he's good enough that this pick is fine for them. I kind of like that. And I think it does make a lot of sense for them here. The Locked On Cavs host, Chris Manning, seems quite happy with that pick for the Cavaliers and Okoro, so that would be good. New Orleans would have to trade Mardi Gras for Karl Anthony Towns.
We don't have
I really like Mardi Gras. I don't know if I would want to do that.
Trade right now.
All right, let's see. Oh, okay, apparently Ricky Rubio is going back to Minnesota. Is that right? Atlanta Hawks are selecting Okongwu from USC, the big man, with the 6th overall pick, according to Chris Haynes, who's been just as on point as Shams and Woj has been.
So 1 for Haynes.
He's got a couple now, too. I'm not keeping that much track of it. But all of a sudden, those point guards in Killian Hayes and Tyrese Halliburton looking like they could potentially be there. I do think you'll see Phoenix and San Antonio maybe go for a wing type of player. And I don't know if so Sadiq Bey, Naismith might go before the Pelicans' 13th pick. And if that starts to happen, maybe you do see a guy like Killian Hayes start to slip, and maybe New Orleans then gets a little anxious to try and move up and grab him. That's a good value pick for the Hawks, I think. I I also think he could probably work in the front court with John Collins too. It probably means Capella is kind of the odd man out, though they just traded for him, and I think Okongwu is going to be kind of raw, so I don't know if they're looking to move on from Capella right away. So, heard that San Antonio is looking to trade Aldridge to the Warriors. That'd be interesting.
Can we have him?
Huh?
Can we have him?
I don't know about that. Yes, Jake from Locked On is far greater than Jake from State Farm. Damn right on that one. I hate those commercials.
You know
Those have like
he gets Jake from State Farm?
wrecked my life.
Literally every time we go anywhere.
Yeah, I get it all the time. I absolutely hate it.
Go to the U-Haul store. Jake from State Farm.
Yeah. Literally anywhere I go, and it's
Jake
like, oh, you're Jake? Are you Jake from State Farm? Like, no, I'm
And
not.
he wears a lot of red shirts. Because the Pels.
I am not wearing khakis right now. I am in shorts.
They're not khaki.
I think Killian Hayes can be pretty good in the NBA and shows a lot of the tools. Might take him a little bit to develop his three-point shot, but he definitely can do that, I think. It's a very good upside pick for New Orleans. All right, what's the trade here? All right, that was the Okongwu.
Looks like he goes to Bama wearing that jacket.
Let's see. All right, so Okongwu is at 6. So where do we stand for everything? As I pull up all of my charts here. Drinking Rye. This is Peerless out of... No, it's fine, babe. It's fine.
Show him.
All right.
It's really good. It's a Christmas present.
There we go. It is very good. Yeah, it's like Michael Bolton from Office Space with that stuff. It's like, okay, cool. I just have to like deal with the jokes and then just try and move on from it.
Go back,
This is Peerless Rye. It's a barrel select, so it came from the actual distillery. Thanks to a friend. It's got like it's not a special flavor. It's just got some flavors in it that they noticed and bottled it separately. It's very good.
It's cherry cola.
Yeah, it's got kind of a cherry cola-ish thing to it. I do like Killian Hayes over Kyra Lewis Jr. I do really like Lewis Jr. a lot. But I definitely think Killian Hayes has more upside and less boom or bust to him than Kyra Lewis Jr. does. Oh, okay. Oh, motherfucker. Detroit selecting Killian Hayes with the 7th overall pick. So there you go. He's off the board, but that's a bit of a surprise that he goes before Tyrese Halliburton. I still really like Halliburton a lot. So I do think that that's still in play. When you look at the next teams, does New York actually is probably going to take Tyrese Halliburton if maybe I had to guess here. That makes a lot of sense actually for them. They need a lead guard there, and so I do think Tyrese Halliburton's about to come off the board here. So let's see.
God, Florida State must have had a hell of a team.
They weren't bad. They had just a lot of talented players. 2 guys in the top
10.
5. Yeah.
5, yeah.
Let's see.
Way better than the football team.
Yeah, Denny is falling right now too, so there's going to be some value there too. I'm going to be kind of curious to see if Detroit took him. He was a bust. There's nothing wrong with Denny. Like there really isn't. He is a very well-rounded prospect, I think. He's going to have a good three-point shot in the NBA. He's a pretty good facilitator, I think, and can really pass the ball, not as like a primary guy, but definitely as a secondary guy. He's young. He's good on the glass. Like, it's a good player, I think. I wonder if the fact that he played overseas is just making it a little bit unknown. You couldn't scout him maybe as much as you would have wanted to this year. This is a little bit of a surprise that he's falling, but not too much of a surprise that he's falling. Should be big trade activity to get Denny at 9 or 10. She does not have a sister, Sam.
I do have a sister.
Oh, you do. You have a half sister.
I do have a half sister. She's
How old?
married.
She's married and how old?
50.
50?
Yeah,
A
51.
little bit older than you.
Yeah. She's cute.
Did the NBA eliminate the trade announcements after the picks are already in? You can't really say anything until they are like actually official, so you just kind of have to pretend that like the team is making this pick or something like that.
Oh, his daddy.
Let's see. I'm like behind on everything
how
here.
happy
Yeah,
I
Halliburton's
am.
still on the board, and I really like him. I like Denny a lot. Devin Vassell is still there too. I think that's a guy that you could really like if you want some more on the wing. This is where there gets to be a lot of value in this draft, I think. This range from about 7 to really 8 to like really the end of the lottery, 14, there's some value to be had in these players. Again, less upside on some of these guys, but a higher floor. And I think when you look at this draft, it's overall just going to have like solid NBA role players. It's not a bad thing to get out of some of these guys. With him being an overseas player, do you think he is a Trajan Langdon target? So I don't think they brought in Langdon just to like do overseas guys. I think they really do like him. I think he's a smart NBA guy that has some connections over there too. Obi Toppin's still there. I'm not high on Obi Toppin. If he's there at 13, yeah, based on value, you probably take him, but I don't know if that's the guy that I would really want to go with.
He also has a cool name.
Mm-hmm. He does have a cool name. I will
Very
give him
cool name.
that.
Definitely the coolest name in the draft.
Some of them, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think Obi's the next Amari? No, not really. Like, I actually don't. I think he does have, I can see that being a high end of the comp, but I think there's a lot more potential for him to flame out than a number of other guys in this draft, and that does actually scare me a good bit away from him. He, I think, has a lot of bust potential kind of written all over him, and because of that, I might actually shy away from a guy like that when I think others have just as high of a ceiling and less bust potential.
What if he's a Jedi?
If he's a Jedi, it's a different story.
There we go. Cross all your passions into one place.
There you go. Yeah, I think if he's there at 13, like, it's fine. You should make that move. I don't know if you trade up to try and go and get him right now. So, like, that's kind of, I think, part of the issue that I see with him.
Are we going to keep JJ Redick, or is he going to peace out on us?
Right now, they're going to keep him. We'll see if that ends up happening, but I wouldn't be shocked if they move him at the trade deadline. That is for sure. It's also going to depend where the team is. All right, Hawks pick coming in. God, they are, like, still ahead. Where would Jackson Hayes go in this draft? He'd probably be a top 8 pick. Like, I do definitely think that he would be a top 8 pick in this draft for sure. He has that much upside to him and fits in with a lot of things and a lot of other teams, and it looks like he can develop a three-point shot. So I think Hayes, they're not going to move on from him because there's still so much potential with him. Now, if you get the right trade, yeah, you move on from him, but I don't think they're actively looking to do that.
Gino Hills, babe. Look at that. That's insane. What a hell of a team.
Just catching up on everything here. Okafor would have been a great pick in 2002. Yeah, would have been really good. That is a lot of Mountain Dew with Kongwu there.
You haven't seen all the Mountain Dew in like all these?
Has it been like in everyone? Yeah, they must be like
there's a lot of
sponsoring
Mountain Dew just
everybody.
in general.
A lot of Mountain Dew in general.
My dad loves Mountain Dew.
He does.
He drinks it with the FedEx.
Okay. Catching up on everything here. Again, Tyrese Halliburton is still alive in this draft. Denny, those are probably the top 2 that are still out there. This is where you might see teams try and move up because this is where you can get some good value. If you have an extra first-round pick, yeah, trade it for one of those 2 guys and move up. I firmly believe that I think is a very good play right now. Woj with just an unbelievable tweet right now. New York has long been excited that Obi Toppin might fall to them at 8. Sources tell ESPN he's almost there. He basically is there. So Obi Toppin going to New York.
Probably. get Trevor Ariza. Rockets get future first.
You are wearing that bracelet right now that says
Oh,
never
no.
forget you nominee. How is this legacy driving you today?
I don't like that pick. Like I said, I don't know. I don't like Obi Toppin that much. So like Knicks kind of do Knicks-esque things here, and yeah, it means Tyrese Halliburton's there at 10. At 9. Maybe the Washington Wizards take him. Maybe they take Denny. That means then it's Phoenix, San Antonio, Sacramento. You can't imagine that Sacramento and Phoenix would go after a guard. So maybe Tyrese Halliburton is there for San Antonio at 11 or the Pelicans at 13. So we're going to see. Yeah, got to replace Julius Randle with Julius Randle and Obi Toppin.
I'm just going to call you out and tell you that you said that position doesn't matter as the draft goes on. I think we're proving that you're wrong.
What do you mean?
People are getting people that, clearly aren't in order of the best.
It's the way they think that they're the best.
Okay, so
Like-
it's not based on need?
No, I think they're drafting the best player they think is available on the board. People
So
have
the
different.
Sacramento and Phoenix question.
That's slight. I still think they might take it just based on pure value. I do think that's a little bit different when you just moved a bunch for Chris Paul and you have Devin
forgot
Booker in the
about
backcourt, huh?
But we've already
We
forgotten.
kind of
about
did, yes.
Thank you for letting us share in this special
Hip Hop Mechanic, thank you. I love doing the podcast for you all.
colors. Congratulations. Reese, we're going back to you.
All right, we already know what some of these are. Like we're way ahead of the draft based on like Twitter here. That is a very good tweet from Woj. Cost to move up to 9, probably 13-24. And honestly, I don't know if that gets it done, even with a second round pick. You probably have to include a future asset, and I would not do that whatsoever. So if it costs a future asset, no, I'm good not doing that and staying at 13. I do think there's some value to be had at 13.
Oh, he is sharply dressed.
Yeah, I do like Killian Hayes. I'm kind of annoyed with that pick, but he wasn't going to be available for the Pelicans
Where
at
are
13.
they? And why are we not there?
I don't know. Good question. It looks very nice there.
Oh, it's beautiful. He's the Bond villain.
Killian Hayes' pants are disturbingly tight. That's the fit right now, man.
Yeah, it is. They're like leggings.
Seems like there's no point in moving up now. A glut of solid players at 13. Yeah, I definitely think there are. You're going to get one of Naismith, Bay, Kyra Lewis Jr. I even really like Tyrese Maxey there too. I just don't, if you can move up for the picks you have in this draft, yes, do it. But if you can't, no, don't do it. There's no point in that. All right, I think we got something on Denny here. Wizards taking Denny. That makes a lot of sense, and they should. They definitely should make that pick. It's just too much value. They kind of need that. Yeah, Vassell is still there. That's actually kind of surprising to me, too. That was a guy that had a variety of ranges, but he makes a lot of sense for New Orleans, and the Pelicans might get a lot of value out of him, I think, even as a sophomore. He's a guy that's going to have an okay enough shot. I don't think he's going to have an elite shot at the NBA level, but he gives you kind of everything else you're looking for. He's not a high points per game scorer, and I don't think he will be in the NBA, but I don't know if the Pelicans really need him to be that in the NBA.
What was his shooting percentage in college?
He shot 41.5% from 3 in college, but that goes down at the NBA level significantly. So Vassell makes a lot of sense, I think, for New Orleans if he's there at 13. I like Tyrese Halliburton more. Yes, that's who I would be looking at for a pick at 13 or to trade up for. That's the guy.
Is amazing.
That's Tyrese Halliburton. He's got the best suit of the night. I saw this earlier.
His girlfriend's outfit matches his tie.
All right, let's see. Yeah, he's the best prospect still on the board. Skylar Mays at 39 at LSU would be very, very cool. He had some very good combine numbers, too. Yeah, I don't know if the Pelicans can have a bad pick at 13 at this point. It depends on who they take, of course. I'm not as high on Naismith despite his like unbelievable 3-point percentage. Let's see.
Everybody's in Georgia.
Yeah. So let's see. So it's going Kongwu, or it's going Obi Toppin, Denny, and I don't know. We're gonna see how this is gonna go here. Kobe, Jackson Hayes would go in the top 8 in this draft easily. I think in this one he'd easily go in the top 8 of this draft.
What's the hesitation with Tyrese Halliburton?
They just like other guys better, I think. Like I don't think there's like a ton of. I don't think it's anything wrong with him. It's just teams have different draft boards.
I know, but I wonder this in football always. Like, how did we get such a different result? Did they see something, they see something we don't see?
They have different they have different people working on it all.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think this is like there's something wrong with him or something we don't know. I think it's just
You didn't have like weird interviews like you said with that other dude.
no, like we didn't hear much about how interviews and stuff went. That stuff was kind of more secretive this year because a lot of it was done virtually and in person, where you weren't really like publicizing a lot of that. Where would Nikhil go in this draft is a very good question. Probably still similar range in the top 20, maybe closer to the lottery, I think, than he did at 17 last year. Feel bad for the ESPN broadcast having to talk about who the Knicks should pick like they don't follow Woj. They have their phones up there. You see Jay Williams on his computer too. They already know. They've got little earpieces that say that too.
Reese looks bored.
But you've got to try and like stretch this out. That's why it kills the broadcast. You can just follow along on Twitter and be fine. I would not trade Hayes for a Kongwu. I get it, but I don't know about a Kongwu developing a 3-point shot, and I do think that is a very big problem when you have Zion Williams, and I at least think that Hayes can do it. But I do think a Kongwu is going to be a much better defender at the NBA level.
Who would be the best for us to space the court?
Like just pick at 13?
Yeah, pick at 13. That's based on what's currently available.
I mean, Aaron Naismith out of Vanderbilt's going to be the best shooter left, but he doesn't have the highest ceiling like at all of some of these guys, and he's very limited otherwise. So I wouldn't take him there. I like Sadiq Bey over Naismith in this draft.
Oh, I like that suit too. I'm glad you have burgundy.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't get what all the Jackson Hayes hate. Like they'd said he was more raw than other people coming into the draft, having played organized basketball for like 3-4 years at the most, and shows all of the talent there. And so I think that you still got to give him a little bit more time. He wasn't supposed to play as much as he did in the NBA this past year. He was supposed to play a little bit less than that, and they had to throw him in due to injuries and different things. So I think that is just kind of doing it much for him a little bit, I think. Lack of trades in this is not necessarily so surprising to me. I thought it was going to be a little bit more relaxed than some people had thought, and I said this as much on the podcast because there's so much unknown right now. I don't know if people are willing to give up a ton of stuff. Also, it's not that good of a draft. You don't want to trade future picks right now to move up, and that's kind of what it's taking. I don't know if teams really want to acquire more picks in this draft. So that's why the Pelicans might have trouble packaging 24 and 13 to move up, because you don't want you don't want an additional first-round pick.
Is one of the reasons this is a bad draft year is because we don't know anything about these players?
A lot of it is that, yes. All right, Denny to the...
So we could be surprised in a good way,
It could be.
or in a very bad way.
I don't think Halliburton would start over Ball. I think it probably could be Halliburton and Ball in the backcourt starting together. I think the skill set that he has complements Ball and makes up for what some of Ball is lacking. I also do think that Eric Bledsoe, who I've rarely talked about because we're more excited about picks and things like that, could be the starting point guard for the Pelicans too in the backcourt alongside Lonzo Ball.
I love this. This is so sweet.
In about 15 minutes, I probably need to go switch over to the Locked On Live show, but stay on here with me during all of this. So this pick for the Wizards is a little bit interesting. They took Rui Hachimura last year. Kind of plays a similar position as Denny does. But this is pure value for the Wizards, I think, right now. Unless they end up trading him. Because a guy like that who is predicted at one point to go 4-5 overall and you're getting him there, I think is a great selection for the Wizards at 9. Again, there is value right now to be had in this draft. Less upside on some of these guys, but still pretty good value. And with Tyrese Halliburton, a guy who I'm very high on, I think has one of the higher ceilings of players in this draft, would love for him to keep dropping. Now maybe a team looks to trade up. But again, you don't want to trade up with future assets because, frankly, the pick next year is worth more than the pick in this draft because this draft isn't going to be better than the draft next year. Next year's draft is supposed to be a little bit better than this one. Nova players are very high IQ. Bay would be a Van Gundy type guy for sure. Yes, they are. I trust Villanova players coming into the NBA. Same thing with Kentucky players.
Yeah, Philly.
Yeah, babe. I like Villanova players. I like Kentucky players. I definitely think there's something to be said for those guys because Villanova has a good track record of this stuff, don't they?
They do.
And
We love Josh Hart.
Josh Hart, exactly.
Best friend.
If Bledsoe's staying, does it really make sense in drafting a guard? Yes, because you're not going to keep Bledsoe that long and he's not a long-term piece. Again, you go with you don't want to do it based off of need and roster. Take the best player, the guy that you think is going to be the best NBA player in the next 2 or 3 years. Likely anyone the Pelicans draft could be traded. You want to make sure you get the most trade value out of that guy, and that likely means it needs to be the best player in 2 or 3 years. So let's see what they're saying here.
If we're just talking, it's not true.
Like, there is, yeah. Would rather keep 24 and certainly don't trade future picks. Just sit pat with Denny gone. I don't think there's anything wrong with staying at 13 right now. This is going to push a guy like Devin Vassell, Tyrese Halliburton down. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Pelicans. If you like a guy like Saddiq Bey, he's definitely going to be there. Or Naismith, you're kind of looking at it right now, and there is going to be a guy that you like will be there at 13. Like at this point, unless the Pelicans go in a completely different direction and have a different draft board than everything we're talking about here, they're not going to go wrong with the selection that they make. At this point, it's just who do you like the most? And the Pelicans are going to probably take one of these guys. He might not be the number one guy on your board. Yeah, like I didn't even mention him. He's here available. I like Tyrese Maxey a lot out of Kentucky and think he could be really good. So it's tough to go for like a really wrong way for New Orleans right now, unless they take like a guy that we're not even talking about and we don't like. Then yeah, maybe there's a chance they make a bad pick, but that just means that their draft board is very, very different from our board. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's correct. That doesn't mean that it's the wrong pick. It just means we view things differently, and frankly, you should probably trust them over me.
They probably this is their job.
Yeah, like if
spend all day
they make a
looking at
pick that I'm a little bit different on, yeah, they should probably trust them.
2020 NBA Draft. The Washington Wizards select Denny Avdija.
Okay.
So cool. Look at all that wine.
He's at the right party right
That man
there.
is at the
Trophies,
right party. Trophies and
wine.
No Mountain Dew in sight.
Yeah, look at him not having any Mountain Dew.
Trophies and wine. That man's doing it right. Also, that one is the most stylish one we've seen so far.
You say that there's more terrible GMs in the league than good ones. Yes, but I don't think that David Griffin is one of them. Cole Anthony's the only out of nowhere type of guy I think is possible. Yeah, I'm not as high on him compared to some others, and I wouldn't like that pick. I tend to give the team the benefit of the doubt. This is not Dell Demps drafting right now, so I feel a little bit better about it. And so, but definitely a way to kind of consider. There's ways they could go out of left field with this.
You think they will, though? You think they will with David Griffin in charge?
No, I think they'll be okay. Like at this point, you're looking at Halliburton, Kira Lewis Jr., Vassell, or Bay for the Pelicans, and like that's a good position to be in. We also rarely saw Dell Demps draft, and he chose Buddy Hield over Jamal Murray.
Father is Mr. Avdia. He was born in Kosovo, in Serbia. He was a Yugoslavian national team player and played also a lot of years in Israel.
Very
My
cool.
dad was never my coach. We didn't really get along on the court. I was just getting
We didn't really get along on the court.
missed like 4 shots in a row, and my dad was like, "Oh, that's not a real shooter mentality."
Thank God Dell Demps isn't drafting. Yes.
Correct.
I am noted to be not a Dell Demps fan whatsoever. Yes. It is a very good question how he kept that job that long, and things would have gone very differently with Anthony Davis. I can say that very confidently had he not stayed here that long. We got Max from New York. Good to see you here. Happy to be doing with this with you all. This is pretty fun to hang out during the draft. We can't do it in person, so you're seeing a lot of Kira Lewis Jr. talk for a reason. I think he's got a very high ceiling. He's going to have a very good three-point shot in the league. He attacks the basket. He creates for others. There are some limitations with him, yes, and he could completely flame out of the NBA. But I like him a lot and think he's going to be a very good player out of Alabama.
Trust me, I know.
And I would be very happy if the Pelicans took him. Based on how things are going, I'd say it's more likely they draft him that...
Bay?
Yeah, I think so. I think Kira Lewis Jr. is probably like firmly in the Pelicans' sights, depending on how some of this goes. Now, if Halliburton falls, if Vassell falls, that's a different story because you weren't expecting that. But they probably went into the night thinking they're going to take a guy like Kira Lewis Jr.
I just love you. So thank you for all the support in this fast.
Halliburton, Vassell, Lewis, Naismith. I'm not high on Naismith as some others are, but yeah, I think that's about right. We would have traded Jamal Murray for Boogie still, maybe. Part of the reason that trade got done was the Kings owner, Rendive, really, really wanted. The Pelicans had an amazing tweet. The Pelicans had such a good tweet at Woj. Go check it out. At Woj ESPN, here are some options to put a little Louisiana spice on our pick. Laissez-les player, roulette to New Orleans. Player will be making groceries in New Orleans. Pelicans feel players in quotes is the gree-gree. Player went by mama and them's to tell him he's going to New Orleans.
All right, y'all won the tweets of the night. I like the making groceries in New Orleans. Because no one outside here is going to get that.
That is such a good tweet. Jackson Carney, no Alabama players? You might have to live with this. You still might get Skylar Mays if you're an LSU guy in the second round. There's a very good chance that would happen. I was so afraid, Brian R. says, I was so afraid the Pelicans would be left with Obi Toppin as by far the best player available. Thank you, Knicks. Yes, thank you very much, Knicks. Knicks just can't help himself. How would I feel if the Pels drafted Poku and stashed him? Fine with it. Like, that would be fine, but I wouldn't want to do it at 13.
Perfectly adequate.
Well, are we getting a tweet here? Phoenix is selecting. Ooh. All right. That is a bit of a... Okay, so this is the first reach of a night. The Phoenix Suns are selecting Jalen Smith, the big out of Maryland, with the 10th overall pick. I think that's too high for him. This is a bit of a reach.
They want a big. Oh my god, we need this game. This looks amazing.
Okay. Hold on here. All right. So things with that pick keep either Vassell or Halliburton falling for New Orleans. That is a Pelicans are in a good spot. Pelicans are in a very good spot. Yeah, the Suns do tend to just go for the guy that they want, and I think it's fine.
Let them do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we have a squadron scheme?
So this is good for New Orleans right now with everything, and I like the way that things are going for them. This couldn't be a better scenario than what you would want for the 13th overall pick, which isn't that exciting, to kind of get it now where it becomes exciting and might generate some trade interest too. Maybe they trade back a little bit and acquire future draft assets, go what OKC is doing, and do all of it. What?
How many we have? 13?
Yeah, you always want more.
I mean, what, 15?
Yeah, sure.
17?
So this is very good. All right, let's see what is going on here. Yeah, they reached for Cam Johnson last year and just really went after the person that they wanted. And yes, this is what happens when you draft for need. You reach. They don't see it as such. The rest of us do. And if it works out, that's great. Smith, I thought, could be available at 24 for New Orleans. That's how much further down I kind of expected him to go. It makes sense for them. I just don't think that this is the best player that they could have taken during this time. I think they could have done much better and gone for a much more higher ceiling guy. There's some very big limitations. I don't think Jalen Smith's defense is going to remotely translate to the NBA.
Let Phoenix do their thing.
Like, not at all. I don't think he's going to, they say shot blocker here. I don't think he's necessarily going to be that in the NBA. So that, I think, is a bit of a reach for them. But now you still have Kyra Lewis Jr. on the board, Halliburton on the board, Bey on the board, Vassell on the board. Like, this is all great for New Orleans. Things are shaping up to go exactly how you would want. Trade with Boston for the picks? No, I do not want more picks in the first round.
Will Bey be on the board at 24?
No, he'll be off by then. But it's fine. If you don't get him, it's okay. But the
So
Pelicans
you
are
can get
getting...
Lewis and Bey.
Probably not, unless you make a trade. But, I don't know if Halliburton gets past the Spurs right now. But they've been supposedly really high on Naismith or Bey, and maybe that's just kind of who they go. Also, they might take Vassell at there, and that could be interesting. All right, let's see how things are going to go.
Can I get you in?
No, I'm okay. Thank you, though.
Cool enough?
Mm-hmm. So this is where it's going to get interesting. Look, at this, as high as I am on Saddiq Bey, I would love it if he's off the board by the time the Pelicans pick right now, because that means New Orleans is getting a better player. Okay, let's check back on everything here. Spurs likely won't take a point guard. So why won't they likely take a point guard? I think that actually makes a lot of sense for them to some degree. But it feels like they've got to go with Halliburton or Devin Vassell right now, right? I don't think any of those young guards that they have nearly the same type of ceiling that Tyrese Halliburton was. I do not like RJ Hampton. I would stay far, far away from RJ Hampton. But again, this is shaping up to be really good for New Orleans.
Why don't you like Hampton?
Nothing about him is really good to me. Like, nothing about it. Oh, with New Orleans as a distinct possibility for Aaron Baines and Mate. So they drafted need, which, yeah, I don't really like. Saddiq Bey seems like a Kings kind of guy. So does Aaron Naismith, some three-point shooting and a wing. Like, that makes, I think, a lot of sense. So we're going to see where this is going to go. Again, somewhat of a warning here. I'm going to have to kill the video and put everything on pause as I go do the Locked On live hit really quickly, but I will be right back. So stay here, talk amongst yourselves. When we get to that point, I'll let you know. I've been told I'll get like a 2-minute warning during all of this. For the memes, obviously, Baines to the Pels would be dope. He's also like kind of a fun player. I like him. He's a big that spaces the court, plays solid defense and can pass. Like, that's really good, I think. So let's see what the next pick is going to be. Stop showing Tyrese Halliburton and don't let the Spurs get him. But that kind of just feels like the smartest move for them. But we're going to see. No, I think Aaron Baines would make a ton of sense for New Orleans in free agency to try and bring in. All right, that was an alert. San Antonio selecting Devin Vassell. All right, so now it comes down to the Kings. And what do you want to do? Please do Kings things. Kings? Vassell to the Spurs, that's a really good pick for them. It seemed like they were kind of keying in on a wing this whole draft process, whether it was Saddiq Bey, whether it was Aaron Naismith. And now that Vassell is there, he's better than both of those guys. Makes perfect sense for them. Pick is in. So now let's see what the Sacramento Kings do. But if the Pelicans get Halliburton, I am going to be absolutely thrilled.
Didn't think we were gonna get him.
Let's see. Let's see. No more little guys. I don't know. Like, the Kings are a different organization now. This is not Vlade in charge anymore. Despite the fact that they have guard potential there, you know, they still might move on from Buddy Hield, so they could still use another guard. They could still kind of go with just best player available, which is Halliburton.
Can we have Buddy Hield back?
So we are going to see where this really goes. Yeah, drafting after the Kings is a win. They tend to do like the wrong thing. Yes. All right, this is the Spurs selection here. Oh, let's see what it is here. Damn it.
What?
Tyrese Halliburton is probably going to the Kings.
Are you surprised?
No, that's tremendous. That's what they should have. That's like it's the right pick. So, this is where it gets interesting. Is it going to be Kyra Lewis Jr.? Is it going to be Saddiq Bey? Is it going to be Aaron Naismith? Yeah, I just saw that Woj tipped Halliburton to the Kings. That's the right pick. They didn't do the Kings thing. That makes me very disappointed. But that is a very, very good pick for the Sacramento Kings. There's just no other way to put it.
I feel like Woj is the ESPN.
So let's see now how it's going to go for New Orleans. New Orleans is basically on the clock at this point. Yeah, that probably just does wreck Tyrese Halliburton's career now that he's going to be there with the Kings. Again, in a minute or two, I'm going to need to hop off and hop on the Locked On live show. If you want to tune over to that for a minute with Chad Ford, I think is going to be a lot of fun. Then we're going to come right back to this. We're going to keep this going for a while too, at least to the 24th pick for New Orleans. Depending on what it'll be, we'll see how it's going to go. But man, that is a bit disappointing. I think it's between Kyra Lewis Jr. I think it's between Saddiq Bey, who I'm very high on. I wanted Tyrese Halliburton there. But yeah, this is a bit of a disappointment. New Orleans has been discussing trade scenarios with the 13th overall pick, sources tell ESPN. Let me post the link to the Locked On Live show for you guys. I can pull that up. Let me grab that for you all so you can switch over just for a minute, then come right back here because we're going to still be live on this show. Hold on one second. Yeah, I mean, it's smart. They don't need someone here, and if they're not enamored with anyone, I like the idea of trading back and getting more picks. More picks for a small market is a very good thing. Here is the Locked On. All right, I'm going to put this on pause for a minute. I will be back in like 5 minutes with y'all. Check the Locked On Live. Let me go hop on that.